The moment she walked through the glass doors at Terminal B7, the shift was palpable. Not in the air pressure or the temperature, but in the kind of silence that spreads just before something is about to be mishandled deliberately. Elena Dorsey wasn't dressed to impress. She wasn't trying to. A muted gray blazer, neatly pressed slacks, a white blouse, and flats built for movement not fashion. Her hair was pulled back in a clean bun, her carry-on sleek, unbranded. Her only accessory was a pair of glasses that framed eyes sharper than any blade in the room. Her boarding pass, glowing softly on her phone, bore a single seal. Diplomatic clearance, level 4. She was here on business. Serious business. A routine terminal security sweep, wrapped in a quiet final audit of an airline lobbying for a $12.4 billion global sustainability loan. What the staff didn't know, what no one in the terminal had been told, was that the fate of that loan rested on her report. And that test had just begun. At the diplomatic boarding gate, the first roadblock waited for her in the form of a man named Benson Coyle. Middle-aged, pressed uniform, polished shoes, and eyes that skimmed her with all the caution of someone trained to evaluate authority based solely on appearances. "Ma'am," he said, holding up a hand before she could scan her pass. "This line is for authorized diplomatic passengers only. I think you may be in the wrong queue." Elena tilted her phone. The QR code shimmered beneath the light. "That's exactly what I am." Coyle didn't scan it. He didn't even move. He just stared, brow raised. "Is this your boarding pass?" "Yes," Elena replied. "Issued directly by the Global Oversight Council under F-14 protocol." The language made him blink. Not out of recognition, out of confusion. He gave her a once-over again. No watch worth 6 figures, no entourage, no logo-screaming handbag. Behind her, the doors opened and 4 men in immaculate suits stepped inside. They weren't scanned. They weren't questioned. No QR codes, no confirmation screens, just smiles and nods from Coyle. Elena was asked to step aside. She didn't argue. She didn't need to. This was the observation. 15 minutes passed. 20. A whisper here, a glance there. Staff members talked among themselves, occasionally pointing, laughing once not cruelly but dismissively. A superior arrived, glanced at her credentials, and waved vaguely at a nearby lounge chair. "She can wait there while we sort this." Translation: "We don't know who she is, but she doesn't look like someone who should be here." Elena took a seat, opened her encrypted tablet, and began typing. Gate denial without procedural verification. Delay due to visual profiling. Preferential access granted to unverified parties with visible indicators of wealth. Her hand didn't tremble. Her pulse didn't rise. This wasn't the first time. Across the room, a woman in pastel silk leaned toward her friend and murmured something. Elena heard the word staff followed by a smirk. Nearby, a server passed her table 3 times. Bypassed her every time. She raised her hand after the 4th pass. "Could I have a glass of water?" The server blinked. "Priority beverage service is for platinum tier guests." "Ma'am, I'd need a membership number." "No," Elena said calmly. "But you can note that I hold diplomatic access and am currently on assignment under a compliance contract ratified by 3 international bodies." The server stiffened, then walked off, returning minutes later with a glass of water. But the damage was logged. She added the interaction to her file. By the time the fruit plate arrived placed in front of her with no apology, it was already too late for courtesy to matter. In the corner of the lounge, a terminal staffer quietly scratched a line through her printed name on the diplomatic registry and scribbled a note beside it. "Doesn't match profile. Verify if real." She didn't call anyone. She didn't escalate. She documented. Because this wasn't about the fruit plate or the smirks or even the security guard who asked her if she knew someone in order to be in this area. It was about patterns. And she just found 3 dozen of them. Then came the coffee. A young flight attendant in a too-tight smile rushed past with a silver tray, sloshed a cup of scalding hot coffee down her shoulder, then froze. "Oh my God," the attendant gasped. "It's not Chanel, right?" Elena didn't respond. She pulled a black card from her wallet and handed it over. "Incident code filing. Submit within 2 hours." The attendant paled. From there, it accelerated. A security officer approached her in the general boarding area where she'd been relocated to reduce disruption. "We received a report," he said, not meeting her eyes. Something about suspicious baggage behavior. We need to scan your carry-on. They found nothing. She logged everything. Security bias event confirmed. Selective search performed post-identification. It wasn't personal. It was structural. When they tried to delete her boarding record, they didn't realize the access logs were already mirrored in Geneva. At 11:58 a.m., a senior agent rushed into the gate. "There's been a mistake," he stammered. "Your clearance has been fully reinstated." She stood. "Lead the way." By now, every staffer had heard the rumors that the woman they'd mocked, redirected, and dismissed was not just some diplomat's assistant. She was the assistant director of the compliance oversight audit for the F-14 sustainability loan, the one everyone was relying on to push through the airline's largest financial initiative in a decade. She wasn't there to inspect baggage. She was there to decide whether the airline lived or died. Richard Ellman, CEO of Atlas Aero Holdings, stormed into the lounge just as she returned. He looked pale. "Sweating. MS. Dorsey," he said quickly, "we weren't informed." "That was the point," she replied. "I understand there were miscommunications." "No," she said. "There was clarity. Just not the kind you wanted." And then she gave him the numbers. A projected 14% downgrade in trust rating. A full suspension of the $12.4 billion loan. Immediate pause on the Zurich expansion, the Frankfurt Executive Terminal, and Lisbon cargo corridors. All frozen. All because of a 4-hour audit and the people who didn't know who they were looking at. She listed names, actions, failures, 15 suspensions, 4 demotions, 2 terminations, 1 restructuring order for the entire terminal management team. "You train them," she said. "Not with books. With silence." By 3 p.m., the stain from the coffee was still on the lounge carpet. No one had dared clean it. A symbol. A reminder. Camilla Dorsey, once treated like an error in their system, had just become the system's correction. She didn't stay for applause. She didn't need to. She boarded the plane in seat 1D, opened her laptop, and submitted the final entry. Audit complete. Loan suspended. Culture flagged. And then, she closed her eyes not with weariness, but with resolve. The plane banked softly over the Atlantic. The sky stretched endless and clear. She was no longer watching. Now they were.